Have you ever wondered what a volcano sounds like? Earth is noisy, why should its data be silent? Hello, my name is Ilona McLachlan. I'm a second year student at the University of Canterbury in New Zealand, majoring in geology and minoring in geography. One of my courses this second semester is Volcanology and Science Communication. My course project is to communicate science in a non-science way to non-science people. I chose to musically communicate the 2019 Whakaari White Island volcanic eruption through sonification, the process of transforming volcanic data into music. I hope this project interests classical musicians, volcanologists, and anyone in between who has an interest in both fields. I have been playing cello since I was 11 years old. During my school years, I played in string ensembles, orchestras, performing in concerts and inter-school musical events. I'm currently a cellist in the Christchurch Youth Orchestra. I discovered Leif Karlström on the internet. He is a volcanologist and a classically trained professional violinist. He combined these two very different professions, volcanology and music, together to create the Volcano Listening Project. His project aims to interpret volcanic data into sound and even music, giving people an auditory experience rather than visual. Here is a short video of the KGW News located in Portland, Oregon, America, interviewing him about his project.
Leif Karlström is watching them closely, hoping to better understand when a volcanic event will happen and how big it will be.
I make predictions about how volcanoes should behave that we then test with measurements.
It's a fairly scientific process that Karlström is trying to make easier for all of us to understand. And he's doing that by putting those measurements to music. For instance, what you just heard is actually 10 years worth of sound data from Kīlauea volcano in Hawaii. It was sped up into 3 minutes and then made into music. Karlström is the violinist on the track. Not only is he an assistant professor at the University of Oregon, he's also a professional musician. His goal is to teach people about volcanoes not just by looking at the data, but by listening to it.
One is to teach people about volcanoes and teach people about data, and have them interact with data in an unexpected way.
His second goal is to simply make art, and he plans to record others using sound data from various other volcanoes, taking the natural beat of the earth and jamming out to it a little, the sounds of science that you might just find yourself enjoying.
The Volcano Listening Project is the collaboration of scientists, musicians, and visual artists who have created music videos representing active volcanoes. For example, a decade of the volcanic activity of the Kīlauea volcano in Hawaii was represented in this project. The volcanic activity at the vent of the summit was recorded from 2008 to 2018. The final eruption in 2018 collapsed the summit, forming a crater 500 meters in depth. Elsewhere on the island, lava was erupting out of the fissures, cracks in the surface of the ground on the island. Volcanic activity was represented in a music video. For Karlström's volcano projects, data was collected from different volcanic processes in various ways to use in the videos. 1. Infrasound sensors. These sensors are acoustic microphones which can measure changes in air pressure, gas emissions, lava flows, explosions out of the vent, and mud or debris flows from the volcanoes. They can detect very low frequency sounds, even that are inaudible to humans. 2. Tilt meters and strain meters. These devices measure subtle changes in the slope and shape of the volcano. Volcanoes can change shape before an eruption. 3. Seismographs. These instruments record seismic waves known as earthquakes and volcanic tremor, which is ground shaking. These vibrations all cause ground deformation to the volcanoes. Because pressurized boiling hot magma is inside the volcano, it needs to be released. 4. Oscilloscopes. These devices represent all of the above in graphs used to visualize electric pulses that show oscillations, waves, on the screen. The shape of the wave, frequency and intensity represent changes in the volcano's behavior. These types of measurements of the data can be sonified into sound using instruments and sound engineering softwares. Each volcanic process can be represented by the amplification of pitch, which notes are played, loudness, the volume of the notes, timbre, what type of instrument plays the notes. Different volcanic processes can be represented by different sounds and even different instruments. So the Volcano Listening Project has a spectrum of music videos on their website. For example, at one end of the spectrum, some volcanoes are represented only by sounds. This is not art, it's purely for scientific data representation of volcanic processes. It actually sounds unpleasant to listen to. The other end of the spectrum is much more enjoyable, as volcanic sounds have inspired classical musicians to compose string orchestral pieces around the volcanic processes. The sounds have been musically interpreted and represented by instrumental improvisation, creating more beautiful pieces of music to listen to. Here is an example of the musical representation of the 2018 Kīlauea volcanic eruption. Kīlauea data has been represented visually by graphs, photos and maps. Leif and his team showed that this data can also be represented auditorially, engaging both senses hearing and visualization of volcanic sounds. This is a complementary immersive experience. It can help people detect subtle changes and understand complex scientific data better. Furthermore, this way of presenting volcanology is inclusive to everyone. This is also a great project to engage visually impaired or blind people. They now have a way to perceive volcanic events. Plus, their hearing is likely to be more developed and sensitive to different sounds than ours. This form of representation creates a new way of examining data that has potential to lead to new technological advancements or sonification in the field of volcanology. For my project, I focused on the well-known 2019 Whakaari White Island volcanic eruption. It is an active volcano that has a steep cone shape called a stratovolcano. This volcano lies on the top of the Taupo volcanic subduction zone, where the Pacific tectonic plate is being forced under the Australian plate. As the Pacific plate subducts, it melts to form hot magma, which rises towards Earth's surface, forming volcanoes like White Island. The island is located offshore from the east coast of New Zealand's North Island. 3/4 of the volcano is underwater. The rest of the summit is 321 meters above sea level, which is a steaming hot crater lake. It has a magma chamber below the summit inside the body of the volcano. The movement and the heat of the magma is the cause of the eruptions. The island has many hot springs, green-colored acid streams and lakes, mud pools and many fumaroles, which are smaller vents, with white steam rising out of them, hence the name White Island. The island erupted on the 9th of December 2019. This was its largest eruption since 2000. It was a powerful explosive eruption. Hot steam, toxic gases, and ash were ejected almost 4,000 meters into the air. This type of eruption is called a phreatic eruption, a sudden explosive steam-driven eruption. At the time of the eruption, at 2 p.m., 47 people, tourists and tour operators, were on or near the island. Unfortunately, the eruption was fatal. 22 people were killed, and the 25 survivors had serious chronic skin and inhalation burns. The Volcanic Explosivity Index, VEI, is a scale used to measure the size of explosive eruptions. Typically, White Island's volcanic activity ranges from 0 to 3. Weeks before the eruption, volcanologists had raised the alert level from 1 to 2 due to more volcanic activity. No one should have been on the island during this period, as it was unsafe. Safety warnings and information was provided by GeoNet, a New Zealand website which monitors natural hazards 24/7. The website provided real-time updates of White Island's possible eruption at the time. The hazards were not taken seriously by tour operators working at Whakaari Management Limited Company. Tour boats still went to the island. The tourists on board had not had any safety briefings about what to do in a volcanic eruption and were not equipped with protective gear if an eruption was to occur. Most of the tourists on the island were standing in the crater when the eruption occurred. Since this disaster, the island has been closed to the public. Tourists are not allowed to set foot on the island. The island only now can be viewed from boats or from the air. By playing the cello, I represent this eruption by performing the string orchestral piece called Fire in the Forge by Ted Allen. It is an intense dramatic piece symbolizing the volcanic environment and the chaos victims experienced. Hopefully it is an enjoyable musical piece to listen to. Also have a listen out for different music techniques I have integrated into the piece to recreate the sounds of volcanic processes during the eruption. These sounds include 1. Tremolo represents ground deformation and ground vibrations. 2. A plastic lolly packet being crackled. This represents earthquakes. 3. Sol ponticello is an eerie, whispery sound that represents gas and steam emissions. 4. Glissando is a sudden explosive whoosh, siren-like sound representing ash being ejected.